God, I know I stink, but I really don't. You could go sit with them. I just figured for sanity's sake that I would. What did you do? That's awful. And those are the most uncomfortable unwieldy things. For him. I'm not surprised. I mean, I do all the therapy stuff for her. It's like game on.
Sue Gavel. I'd like to call to order the Westbrook School Committee meeting, October 13, 2021. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Dr. Lancia, can we have roll call, please?
Certainly. Stephen Barry. Here. Jeremy McGowan. Here. Andrea Mancuso is excused. Jessica Meninsky.
Here.
Beth Schultz.
Here.
Vice Chair Suzanne Salisbury.
Here.
Chair Noreen Poitras.
Here.
And Student Representative Julia Alberto is absent.
Okay, thank you. There is adjustment to the agenda. Under important dates, we have the wrong date. It should be October 18th for the facility meeting. Anything else for adjustments, Dr. Lancia? That's okay. Do I have approval of the minutes from September 15th and September 29th, 2021? Jeremy, second by Steve. All in favor? 6 approve, none opposed. In your package, you have your communication correspondence. Our student representative is not here tonight, so we do not have any student council or government report. At this time, I have public participation for agenda items only, 3 minutes per speaker. Seeing nobody. Dr. Lancia, can you have superintendent's report, please?
Thank you, Mrs. Poitras. This is a big room to be back in, so it'll be important for everybody to speak up so that we can hear in this large space. In your packets and published to the website and Thursday folders tomorrow is the monthly Teaching and Learning newsletter. A few highlights from the newsletter. First, in regard to our preventative measures, our work around COVID. Just a reminder that if families would like their children to participate in pool testing, we're offering that in grades K through 6. They need to complete a permission form, permission only. children will only be allowed to participate if they have permission from their parents. And the directions for that are on our website, although if you would prefer a paper copy of the permission form, we would be happy to send one to you. And those permission forms are written in several languages. So if you'd like a copy, please let us know. We are also hosting our annual flu clinics starting on October 21st. The dates for those are in the newsletter, and there was information sent home recently in my evening emails as well as in Thursday folders. So again, if you would like your children to participate in the flu clinics, you would need to make sure that you sign that permission slip. I'd like to give everyone a quick update on the progress at Westbrook High School. I was pleased to walk through the building today and to notice the extent of the work that is being completed, particularly on the third floor. With just my non-contractor's eyes, things looked like they were moving very quickly and looked very, very close to completion in some parts of the third floor. New electrical wires have been hung on both the on the third and the second floor. All of the new light fixtures have been installed on the third floor, and they're working on those on the second floor. The data cables and the trays to contain the data cables have been installed again on the third floor, and they're working their way to the second and then to the first. Walls have been repaired. New electrical plugs and sockets have been installed. Paint has gone up, so the work has gone very, very well, particularly on the third floor. Work has begun on the second floor, and they're working through that, and then they will be working on the first floor as well. So I'm really pleased with the extent of that progress that's being made at the high school. And hats off to our general contractors from ServPro, as well as the different subs that have been in our building every day for several weeks getting this work done. In your packet tonight, you will see a brief memo that was discussed last week at the Finance Committee, and that has to do with some additions to our ESSER spending plan. One of those requests is to add an additional nurse for 2 years to our school system. This will allow us to provide extended services as are required within our schools, but particularly around COVID mitigation and around managing close contacts and the clinics and other things that need to have happen during the pandemic, as well as our everyday business. We have a lot of students who've enrolled who have some pretty fragile health, and we need to be able to respond to them. Tonight you have a nomination for a full-time nurse at Zacharapa schools, so we will have a full-time nurse in each of our schools. This additional nurse would allow our district nurse to be more of the supervising nurse, more of the lead nurse working across the district, lending an extra set of hands, supervising health plans, really following the requirements of the pandemic mitigation as well. So that's one addition we would like to make to the ESSER funds. And the second is to add an additional kindergarten teacher at Congan School. We thought we would be able to get by with class sizes that were at around 15 or 16. We're not able to do that because we've had, just since the beginning of the school year, 18 children register for Congan School in kindergarten. So in order to maintain some small class sizes for safety reasons, but also for academic reasons, we would like to add that additional teacher and look at that as a 2-year position, looping up to first grade the following year so that this large group of kids will be taken care of in first grade as well. And then we would need to look at our kindergarten staffing during our budget process if we are anticipating another large kindergarten class coming in next year. Both of those will fit under the ESSER funds. We would not hire those until the ESSER plans are approved. The third plan is not yet approved by the state, but we would like to move quickly on those, particularly the kindergarten position, because we do have some funding available in the ESSER 2 from positions that we decided not to hire that we had anticipated. and we've reorganized some of those responsibilities. So that's an addition we were going to place into that ESER fund. And finally, as part of the superintendent's report, I'd like to introduce Jeanette DeSeva. Jeanette is our program coordinator for Westbrook Partners for Prevention. And she has been working in Westbrook for 2 years now. This is her second year working with this grant, working with this program that has a long history in our community. It's a program that really is focused on preventing substance use across the community, particularly targeted at adolescents. And she was going to present a fantastic video that students produced with the help of some friends over the summer. It's pretty amazing. There'll be a public showing that Jeanette will talk about as well, but we wanted to give you a preview for that public showing. So, Jeanette?
Where are we looking?
It'll be behind you.
Okay.
Hi, thank you for the introduction and thank you for having me here today. So I'm really happy to present this film. Just to give you a little bit of background, our organization, Westbrook Partners for Prevention, formerly known as Westbrook Communities That Care, some of you might be familiar with the old name, we are grant funded, so we were able to fund this project during the summertime, and we hired a team of students to build on 21st century skills and to help us with a project that our coalition had been hoping to work on for some time. So we really wanted to get the youth perspective on substance use, and they're a great team. We were able to pay them for their time for the 6 weeks that they worked on this project, and they had a great perspective. The majority of the project was youth-led, so they planned what they were going to create. It's a documentary style 17-minute film. They chose who they wanted to interview, what sorts of questions they wanted to ask, and then they wanted to continue sharing that film past the summertime. So I will pull that up. And as you watch, I urge you to think about the film in terms of your lens as community leaders. Also, if some of you are parents, as parents.
Some kids do it to be cool and fit in.
Peer pressure. Outside influences, like there's home life situations, school, like their relationships, stuff like that. They may have seen it as a younger age and think that it's okay to use.
Because their friends do.
Weed would probably be the number one.
Tools and marijuana.
I think they probably definitely use marijuana. I think alcohol. I would say probably some are prescription pills. I would say that's probably the majority right there.
I would say alcohol, marijuana, tobacco.
I think it depends on what's around them and what's easily accessible.
The most used substances by Maine youth are nicotine, alcohol, and marijuana. Minors who smoke cigarettes are 30% more likely to become addicted to nicotine than if they waited until adulthood. The most common way teenagers take in nicotine is through vaping and e-cigarettes. There's a common misconception that these products do not include nicotine and are just the flavoring. But that is not true. 99% of e-cigs and vaping products include nicotine at double the levels they were in 2013. The flavoring is there just to mask the taste of nicotine. What's alarming is that 1 in 3 high schoolers in Westbrook have tried an e-cig, compared to 1 in 5 nationwide. Marijuana and alcohol are nearly tied for the second more used substance by teens, right behind nicotine. Despite many thinking that marijuana is harmless or difficult to get addicted to, it is, in fact, an addictive drug and anyone can develop a marijuana use disorder. Youth are 4 to 7 times more likely than those over the age of 25 to develop a marijuana use disorder. And of the people who use, 30% end up developing a substance use disorder. Marijuana can be harmful in many situations. Research shows that alcohol has greater potential to be addictive and cause harm long term. Of the population who has a substance use disorder, 75% have an alcohol use disorder. If a person begins drinking as a teen, they're 5 times more likely to develop an SUD than adult counterparts.
Not. Would you like to elaborate? No.
50%. I think some parents are extremely knowledgeable. I think other parents rather not know. So I think it's kind of a in-between balance of that.
I think that parents know as much as their kids tell them.
I'd like to hope that they're knowledgeable, but I'm gonna assume the worst.
What would be the worst?
Not that knowledgeable.
I would like to think that all parents are aware of what their children are doing and partake in, but let's be realistic. Adolescents are pretty savvy with hiding what they're doing to a point, especially from adults. But I think some parents are aware of it.
I think there's an awareness there, but they might not know the specifics of like frequency, what substances are being used, and like how that has changed since they were younger. And so their ways of talking about substance use might be outdated.
I think overall, parents, may feign understanding by talking to each other and relying on what other parents are saying, but there's no real way for a parent to understand what their child's going through or could potentially be going through unless they ask them themselves and provide an open, trusting pathway of communication between them and their children. So I think that's a case-by-case situation.
A survey done by the town of Westbrook found that 1 in 5 high schoolers have drunk alcohol or used marijuana within a 1-month period. However, only 5% of adults in the community thought teenagers used those substances. Clearly, there's a big disconnect, whether it be a generational gap of awareness or lack of education among older population. Most people interviewed either knew or could figure out what adverse childhood experiences are. Often abbreviated to ACEs, they're traumatic events that occur during childhood.
When you say adverse childhood experiences, I would think that would be traumatic events.
I mean, I guess it could be anything that affects kids growing up. I mean, we have we have divorce, we have homelessness, we have poverty. I think poverty is huge for us here in Westbrook.
I think that the range of what would be considered an adverse childhood experience is pretty large. It can go anywhere from having a neglectful or absent parent to being homeless to being in a home where there is drug abuse or physical abuse. I think it encompasses so many things that I think most people would fall in the category of having experienced at least one of those.
I know the CDC, which I'm happy about, has expanded it to highlight also like structural oppression and how like racism and homophobia and systematic poverty can contribute to adverse childhood experiences.
Nothing is my final answer because I don't know.
What surprised some folks, though, is that there's a strong link between ACEs and substance use and the subsequent development of substance use disorder.
Yeah, I think they can. I mean, I think everybody's a little bit different, but obviously, if you grow up in a household and you see something happening every day and stuff like that, you're probably more prone to do something like that.
It numbs. Like, that's why you hear a lot of adults drink. They drink to make problems go away. And if you're growing up in an abusive household, you probably don't want to be focusing on that. So I'd say that it definitely probably becomes a coping mechanism for a lot of kids.
I think it really goes back to that mental health component. I think when you experience traumatic things, whether it's like within your individual life or like larger systematic oppressions, that hurts. Like, that doesn't feel good. And if you don't have like a community or a person to talk to, like, you're gonna find other coping mechanisms that might not be as healthy, and those might be substances. Yeah, so I think there's like a very intimate relationship between trauma, mental health, and substance use.
I think I was around 10 or 8 when I saw my grandmother have like a heart attack from smoking cigarettes, right? So that was big, almost losing her, but I think it wasn't the heart attack that was traumatic. She still smokes like a decent amount. So that's what's scary about it, knowing that a drug like that, which is very similar to the Juuls, put her in the hospital that close to her death, and yet she can't stop. Because that's how addictive it is.
Substance use disorder is a disorder that affects a person's brain and results in a patient's inability to control their drug or alcohol use. SUD develops when a person repeatedly uses a drug or alcohol, resulting in conditioning the brain into releasing unnaturally high levels of dopamine and serotonin, which is how we are able to feel joy, satisfaction, and all things positive. Over time, the brain becomes unable to naturally replicate these chemicals due to their substance use. So the only way they're able to physically feel happiness is if they continue to use at increasingly higher rates. Some individuals are more likely to develop SUD due to their genetics. Over time, if a patient tries to stop using, they will experience withdrawals, which can cause severe anxiety and depression, seizures, vomiting, muscle pain, suicidal thoughts, and hallucinations. Withdrawal symptoms can last for 3 to 5 days with no breaks. The emotional and mental side effects lasting for months, if not years. This traps them in a cycle of use in an effort to avoid the symptoms of withdrawals, increasing the severity of their disorder. Medical professionals in the state of Maine are pushing to have people with substance use disorder called just that, someone with a substance use disorder, or someone with an SUD. Many patients ask this question, however, are comfortable with being called, and call themselves, addicts. But to help reduce stigma and raise awareness for this disorder, there's a push to have people who don't have SUD to refer to addiction by its proper medical and scientific term. Children and teenagers are more likely to develop this disorder due to their brains being underdeveloped, which leaves them more vulnerable to brain-altering chemicals, like alcohol, marijuana, and nicotine in vaping products. Minors who develop a substance use disorder are extremely susceptible to developing health disorders, cognitive disabilities, and even a decreased IQ. So why are kids prone to continued substance use that can lead to this illness? The answer actually lies in adverse childhood experiences. Adverse childhood experiences, also known as ACEs, are traumatic events that occur in a person's childhood. These include abuse or neglect, whether physical or emotional, household dysfunction, such as a parent being incarcerated, extreme poverty, homelessness, divorce, a death in the family, or a family member abusing substances. Children of marginalized groups can also face trauma as a result of who they are, especially LGBT youth, with transgender teens facing higher rates of bullying, mental illness, and potential for suicide than other LGBT folks. Intergenerational trauma as a result of racism and colonization is also considered an adverse childhood experience. Unaddressed ACEs have been shown to dramatically increase someone's likelihood to use substances and subsequently develop a disorder. Surveys have found that 1 in 4 Maine youth have 2 or more ACEs, with 61% of the general American population having at least one. These traumatic events dramatically increase the chance of developing a mental health disorder, like depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder, and can increase a person's risk of cardiac diseases and cancer. Surveys show a strong link between people who have adverse childhood experiences and the likelihood of developing a substance use disorder. 64% of people with an SUD have at least one ACE. This high number is likely due to the fact that chronic and severe trauma results in lowered levels of serotonin and dopamine, and higher levels of mental illness and general feelings of loneliness and inadequacies. Drugs and alcohol offer an escape, a temporary relief from the daily struggles that can arise from a history of trauma. The catch, though, is that these substances are addictive and can trap vulnerable people into developing an illness that can only exacerbate already existing issues. So while teenagers may start vaping, using marijuana, or drinking alcohol because of their peers, family, or the culture surrounding it, if a teen has a history of untreated trauma, they are significantly more likely to use long-term and develop a substance use disorder. Luckily, there is always hope. Make sure to familiarize yourself with the signs of substance use disorder, so that if you or a loved one is to develop it, action can be taken.
Shameless plug of our own website. We do have a list of great resources. If someone is looking for after-school activities, they can definitely sign up for a sport or a drama club, band, things like that through the school. They can take part in activities at the Westbrook Community Center or My Place Teen Center. If they're looking for specific resources, let's say they're having a challenging time with mental health, maybe reaching out to 211 Maine, finding a provider or some professional help. Our school has a great partnership with the Greater Portland Health Clinic, so we actually have a school-based health clinic available throughout the week that students can access. There's the Lakes Region Recovery Center, the Portland Recovery Community Center, which they have a lot of resources for specific to substance use and substance use disorder. I think that anything that people can kind of get involved with, whether it's an activity or, community event, anything that promotes that togetherness and fosters a community of caring can be really effective and serve as a protective factor. So research does show that having at least one supportive adult in a teen's life is a very big protective factor against them engaging in substance use. So being an adult that does offer compassion and empathy. Another thing I would say is also don't be the person that supplies young people with substances, and then modeling that positive behavior as well. So even if you're an adult that's of age, you can use alcohol, you can purchase recreational marijuana, making sure that these things that are present in your home are locked up or put up in a way where they're not easily accessible. So limiting access, I think, is the number one thing that adults can also do to prevent substance use from ever starting.
Other resources include Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services, also known as SAM-HSA, is a confidential and free online resource open all hours of the day. They provide resources and information for treatment centers near you. You can call them at 1-800-662-4357. If uncomfortable with phone calls, they also have a website where you can search for treatment near you. Portland has a community recovery center that provides information about different types of groups in recovery, along with statewide resources. They also have group meetings or telephone recovery support. You can reach them at 207-553-2575.
The point I would like to drive across is that, at the end of the day, we're all partners in prevention, and prevention looks like a lot of different things. It's not just telling kids not to use drugs and alcohol. It's, being there when they have something they want to talk about. It's helping them get involved in different activities and having more structured time. It's, linking people to job opportunities. Prevention looks a lot differently than I think most people think of.
Ultimately, it's important to understand that people who use substances are not bad people, but that substance use disorder is often a byproduct of a traumatic past, not a moral failing. This illness should be approached with compassion and love, like any other. We should all strive to further our understanding of how we can help people in recovery and make our communities a safer place for everyone.
Does anyone have any questions or any feedback? I know that there's a lot of information packed into a short amount of time.
I just had a question. One of the things it talked about was that the adults not really knowing about what the kids are doing. Did you have discussions about what ways that could be improved on?
Definitely. So I think, part of our coalition's mission is to educate and increase awareness. And so that's something that, we talked about with the group as a goal for this upcoming year. And the data that they referenced, like 5% of parents saying, it's not my kid, it's other kids. That comes from the Pan Atlantic survey. So it's a phone survey that they did in 2019, I believe. And then the rest of the data came from the main integrated youth health survey from 2019. And we'll be gathering new data in pretty shortly in the fall.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, I just wanted to say thank you. The voices were very powerful, and it's very encouraging to hear that there are so many resources for students today. In a way, we've come a long way, even though there's a lot of work to be done. So thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I know we're very fortunate in Westbrook. It is a resource-rich community, and I think, we've made strides in reducing stigma and having conversations and having a supportive community around substance use and substance use disorder. I think we have a lot of challenges ahead of us, like you mentioned. Mental health and the pandemic is ongoing, and access to substances has increased. So it's just things to be mindful of and things that we can kind of continue to work on.
Quick question, what are some of the anticipated uses of this video that you foresee?
Yeah, so we're hoping to kind of show it to more community members to open up conversations and dialogue. Hoping to show it to more parents so that they can kind of see that, there is a little bit of a disconnect. Using new evidence, new data that we have to kind of bring everyone up to speed of, what has been happening the past couple of years. And then to see what the gaps are. We do have a lot of resources in our community, but we also, there are some things that we could probably improve upon. It's been a rough year and a half not having many in-person events. So we're definitely looking ahead and trying to educate, increase awareness, help parents have those difficult conversations and, equip them with the skills and tools that they need to support their young people.
Great, thank you. It was very well done. Thank you for sharing with us.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette, and please congratulate the kids. They are amazing. We have the most amazing students in our community and an amazing staff. We're really blessed. They're great teachers for their peers as well as for all of us. So thank you, and thank you for leading them, you and Mike both. Two last things in the superintendent's report. First, this is Bus Safety Month in the month of October, so a special shout out to all of our drivers and transportation staff. You may have seen a story on Channel 13's news last night. Director Melissa Foy and one of our drivers, Patty Harkins, were featured in an interview about cars passing school buses with their lights on and the danger of that. So thank you, Melissa and Patty, for encouraging people to be safe and to follow the law so that we can keep our kids safe. As Patty said, they are our most precious cargo, and we want to make sure that they're safe. So thank you to all of our transportation staff. And finally, on behalf of the school department, I just wanted to extend our sympathy to the family and friends of Donna Higgins. Donna is a community member who served as an administrative assistant, the principal secretary at Westcott Junior High School, which eventually became Westbrook Middle School. So Donna was a very important member of the community and a long servant to the schools and children of Westbrook. So we'll remember her and express our sympathies to her many family members and friends. And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you. On to chair reports. Education program.
There was no meeting between this and the last school committee meeting. We do have a meeting, however, on Wednesday, October 20th at 5 p.m. at Westbrook School District Central Office.
Okay, thank you. Facilities Committee?
We've got an upcoming meeting on, I believe, the 18th. And as Peter mentioned earlier, some of the work on the high school seems to be progressing. So we'll see how fast we can get everything taken care of and hopefully get the school reopened and the kids back in there.
Okay, thank you. Finance Committee, please.
We did have a meeting on October 6th, and we did go over our monthly financials, and including some of the ESSER grants, and just an update on where we are and where we've submitted our application for the ESSER 3 grants, which is exciting. We'll be anxious to hear how that goes. We got an update on our some of the deficit accounts. And we also talked, Dr. Lancia mentioned, we talked about the need to adjust the ESSER 2 and 3 plans and for the additional positions. The nurse that he mentioned, and an additional kindergarten teacher. So we'll be talking about those. Mary Emerson, our nutrition director, was there to talk about some really cool grants that we received, which will help our nutrition department and providing meals for kids. She really's done a great job of not only getting some really cool grants into the school, but also a program that she's worked on, providing some different options, more culturally pleasing meals for students. The staff and the nutrition department are taking some trainings, which is really exciting, and she's really done a great job. With all of those things, we're so lucky to have her in the district doing those things. And we did talk a little bit about some lost revenue that we're having because of not being at the high school. We're going to keep a close eye on that and continue to talk about that. And even though it's October, we're already getting ready to start talking about the budget. I don't think we've stopped talking about the budget since 2000, whatever. But we got a little bit of an outline for some of that. So we want to start talking about that effectively and efficiently so we can get as much input on that and combine that together closely with our work with these federal monies that we're receiving.
Okay, thank you. Policy Committee?
Yes, we had another productive meeting on September 27th. We started the year by establishing some norms for our group. We discussed religious holidays. That issue came up. And after some discussion, we often debate whether it's policy or procedure, kind of leaning more towards procedure and increasing awareness, but we're still going to look into that. And then we reviewed JKAA and JKAAR, which is on the agenda tonight, and that is about restraint and seclusion, and we needed to make those changes in order to be responsive to the legislation that goes into effect on October 18th. And then the committee receives updates from the MSBA, monthly updates, and one update was, the September update mentioned conflict of interest, and so we also discussed that briefly. And so, a lot of our meeting was spent discussing the restraint and exclusion policies, and Kelly Fogg is here tonight to answer any questions you may have about that.
Okay, thank you. We have nothing for old business, correct? On to new business. 12.1, administrative teacher nominations. You don't need approval.
You can do an agreement if you want.
Yeah. Do I have approval for teacher nominations?
Yeah. 12.1.
And Beth.
I'm sorry, did you want to do those in aggregate or separate?
Yeah, I'll do those in the aggregate, the 12.1.1 and 12.1.2. The nurse at Sakarapa and the occupational therapist at Westbrook Middle School. And yeah.
Is there a
Just the two?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Yeah, Beth seconded. Any discussions? Okay, all in favor? 6 approved, none opposed. 12.2, request to approve changes to Westbrook School Department Policy JKAA, use of physical restraint and seclusion. Action item, first approval. Do I have a motion? Motion by Sue, second by Steve. Any discussion?
All right.
Sue, go ahead.
I just want to say really quickly, I appreciate the work on this. I know that the legislature spent a lot of time, the education committee, we spent a lot of time talking about this policy, specifically seclusion and restraint, and the seclusion is still left in the policy statewide, but I'm glad to see that the prone restraint has been removed, and I know that's a big topic of discussion. A lot of work went into that, so I appreciate the time and the changes that have been made to that.
We wanted to make sure that parents were also included and in that they were notified. And I don't know if the committee has questions to ask Kelly about why some of these changes perhaps are needed and why you're supportive of them, and kind of how they have been used in the past.
Hi. So, ask that again, Beth, the questions. So the changes that have been...
Right, I mean, obviously you're in favor of them.
Of course.
But can you share with us why you think they're so important right now?
Not necessarily what's happening. The changes right now are language. So, you know, the basic or more important piece is that we only do this when there's a risk of imminent injury or bodily harm to themselves or others. So this is last resort. I mean, these are things that typically aren't part of our procedures. We have a great program, it's called Safety Care. So we train our staff, which works on de-escalation skills. So they're working continuously to be proactive.
And you keep track, obviously.
And we keep track, and we have to report that to the Department of Education. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we're documenting now, and our documents at this point in time are working. Once this law goes into effect on Monday, the DOE will start reassessing what the documentation looks like, and they may come back to us and ask us to do some changes on our documentation. But at this point, status quo with what we've been doing.
So basically, you're just cleaning up the language to fit more to what you're really doing.
Correct. And they've changed some of the definitions of what a restraint actually is or seclusion is.
I have two questions. So one of the questions I had to do with how these laws or these policies compare to what you would see in a mental health facility or setting. Are they more restrictive or less restrictive, or are there any significant differences that would be notable? And second, for individuals who might have to engage or in any kind of seclusion or restraint of students, what kind of training do they undergo?
So that's part of our safety care training. So they would undergo that to be preventative and proactive before they get to that point. We also have Chapter 33 procedures through special education regulations that we have to follow as well. So staff are trained with that. As far as your first question about,
how these rules compare to what one might encounter in a mental health setting. For instance, like a day treatment school.
So they're trying to establish the rules to be the same in both settings. The definitions are tightened up more. I think it will look different in a private setting than public school.
Okay. Do you know how different?
So I think this is, this has been the ongoing piece with the legislation on when students are in out-of-district placements, the intensity is stronger than what we're seeing in public schools. So I think their data to the DOE may be more than what we're seeing here.
And then I guess I do have a third question. In terms of seclusion, I know in different settings, such as a day treatment setting, there are specific areas where you could seclude a student just to ensure safety. Do we have any such areas in our buildings? How do we ensure student safety if we ever had to act under these policies?
Sure. So we do have areas which are called our break rooms or our sensory rooms. So we do have areas, but it's not, if a student is actively in this position, we are not going to transport that student to those areas. So we work with the student wherever this occurs. And that's part of that safety care plan. You have a team that work together.
Great, thank you. Okay.
I just applaud your safety care training and your efforts to de-escalate, because that makes a tremendous difference.
It does, it does.
I just have a question on the staff safety training. How often do they have to be updated on that, and are they certified?
Yes, they are certified. They have to be updated yearly. So if they're brand new and never had that training before, they have a two-day training. If it needs to be certified each year, it's a 1 day.
So if it is a new staff, would that person do it alone the first year, or would they have like a mentor with them? Would they be on their own after they get certified and trained?
No. No. So you're certified and trained, and it's typically a group. And Katie Garrity, our district coordinator, is a trainer. She's trained as a trainer, so it's in district.
Yeah.
Never alone. We always have a group. There's always a team of at least 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Okay. All in favor? 6 approved, none opposed. Thank you. 12.3, request to approve changes to Westbrook School Department Policy JKAA-R, procedures and physical restraint and seclusions. First, approve. Motion by Beth, second by Steve. Any discussions?
What are the differences between 2 and 3, 12.2 and 12.3?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
The differences between 12.2 and 12.3?
Is there a difference between?
What are the differences? There's obviously 2 separate ones we're proving.
The policy, one's the procedure. I didn't know if she could hear you.
They go together. One was the language of policy. The first one is the language of the actual policy. The JKAAR are the procedures of how we apply the policy.
Okay.
Like, for example, under C, gets to Mrs. Schultz's question, or Mrs. Poitras's question, how many adults are present during a restraint? So there are the specifics of how it's carried out in the R.
And these changes are all basically to align with what the legislature is doing now, too. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Okay, all in favor? 6 approved, none opposed. Thank you. On to important dates. October 18th, 5:30, Facilities Committee meeting, Central Office. October 20th, 5 p.m., Ed Programs Committee meeting, central office. October 25th, 5 p.m., Policy Committee meeting, central office. November 3rd, 5 p.m., Finance Committee meeting, central office. November 4th, parent-teacher conferences, half a day of school for students. November 10th, 7 p.m., school committee meeting, Westbrook Middle School. November 11th, Veterans Day, observed, no school, central office is closed. November 15th, 5:30 p.m., Facilities Committee meeting, central office. November 17th, 5 p.m., Ed Programs Committee meeting, central office. November 22nd, 5 p.m., Policy Committee meeting, central office. November 24th, Compensatory Day, no school. November 25th, Thanksgiving, no school, central office is closed. November 26th, no school, central office is closed. December 1st, 5 p.m., Finance Committee meeting, central office. December 8th, 7 p.m., School Committee meeting, middle school. And at this time, we'll have public participation. Any school-related matters, you'll have 3 minutes per speaker. Do I have anyone that wants to come up and speak? Come forward, sir. Come up to the mic. Please provide your name and your address.
My name is Louis Philippe, and I live at 150 Prospect Street in Westbrook. Start anytime?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. Ever wonder how many lies we deal with every news cycle of every day? From the White House to the Blaine House, and now to the schoolhouse. I'm here to present the 2 most popular lies coming out of this schoolhouse. Number 2, critical race theory is not being taught here. Technically correct, no specific curriculum called CRT, intentionally veiled to deceive parents. CRT is an evil Marxist philosophy that teaches kids to hate, to view everything in life through the lens of race and identity. It is racist and divisive. It's the dumbing down of education and is everything but equity, social justice, inclusion, diversity. CRT is a parent's nightmare that is nothing short of child abuse. CRT enters the classroom through, surprise, teachers, trained by Marxist education specialists to weave CRT into every curriculum from history to algebra to French. Public freedom of access documents have confirmed suspicions of secretive CRT teacher training in many Maine communities. Surprise. Ask the Cultural Competence Institute, the Maine School Management Association, the Racial Equity and Justice Group, or heck, just ask Superintendent Lancia about the Mid-Atlantic Education Consortium. I did. I'm still waiting for answers. Is MAEC conducting CRT teacher training workshops here? It's just a matter of time before the dots are connected and the truth is revealed. But since you all clamor for transparency, there shouldn't be any objections to addressing parental concerns by 1, enacting a code of ethics for K through 12 public school teachers, similar to LD 550, which was canceled by the legislature. 2, installing cameras in every public school classroom. Why not? 3, allowing students to opt out of any class deemed objectionable by parents. And 4, my personal favorite, hold a public town hall meeting. Look, no matter how the CRT demon is dealt with, we can rest assured that Westbrook will still be one of the best school systems in the state. Oops, sorry, that's the number 1 popular lie. Westbrook education stats have been in free fall since 2010. According to publicschoolsreview.com, Westbrook School District is in the bottom 50% of Maine schools for English, math, and reading, plus its graduation rate of 80 to 84%. Overall, Westbrook is ranked number 190 out of 229 school districts. Surprise. Make no mistakes, teachers and school officials will all be held accountable starting with this upcoming election. I end with good news from the book of James, chapter 5. The cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord of hosts, and the judge is waiting at the gate. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, any announcements? Okay, request to adjourn, item Steve and Sue. All in favor to adjourn, 6 in favor, none opposed. We are adjourned.